about. So this is that initial pre-symbolic phase where it's just you're submerged in the emotion. It's raw emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Then the separation out, and this is that me and not me. This is where we talked about enantiodromia. This is that those two, which are contrasting poles.
I was
or
gonna say, what are you
opposites.
calling me? Okay, so Andrew, what was that word?
Enantiodromia.
Okay, and what is that?
It is the idea of the way Jung talked about it is if we have an excessively held one-sided position in conscious awareness, automatically in the unconscious, the alternate pole develops, the opposite develops. So for example, an example is like I work with a lot of police and firefighters, right? These are professions which are pretty strongly macho.
Yeah.
And heavily involved thought process.
Yes.
And some of their ethos is, or culture is, we don't have emotion.
Sure.
And it makes sense.
Emotions are weak.
Emotions are weak, and that's the culture there.
There comes the heart attack.
And well, right. So, but what happens is if I hold that position too strongly, which is easy to do, and it makes sense in those professions, right? They've got to make decisions quickly.
Sure.
And when they're in the middle of something, they don't want to be swamped with emotion, which is the opposite pole. So what they do is confine themselves to a lot of thought process, step by step. Okay, this has happened. What do we do? Okay, first we do this, next we do this, then we do this. You do that, I'll do that, you do that, that kind of thing. Right? Very heavy thought oriented. It's very strongly ingrained. So what happens is the emotion gets pushed down into unconscious. And that's what that opposite pole is, which works for a while. But then what happens, what tends to happen or what can happen is that emotion over time, it isn't inert. It isn't inactive. Every time some event happens, there's more energy. And then at some point, that overwhelms them, like with a panic attack. So this is the firefighter on the burning roof who has a panic attack.
Oh.
Or this is a policeman who's happened to be directing traffic from an accident, but gets paralyzed with anxiety. That's being swamped with the emotion.
So the you explaining that, to a point, I think they're just, in my mind, similar to what I was doing, is because of that background, they dissociate, right? Is that a form of dissociation away? Well, not so much me, but not, you're living on one side of the spectrum and not acknowledging that there are certain emotions there.
Yes, exactly.
It's kind of like you're numbing them, or
exactly right.
Until it gets to the point where that energy needs to be
right, numbing them. And here is, he says, I didn't feel anything for a long time. I was numb to it. In other words, and he talked about that as being the training for the ICU nurses, another very macho profession. And he says it was beaten out of us. Like, you don't have emotion here. And you just numb yourself to whatever's going on and you crash through and do it.
Yeah. And I don't think that's just like the male macho thing. I think that's maybe workers in that field in general, just to maybe unconsciously protect themselves.
Good point. Very good point. It is,
I know I drank a lot, there you
go.
To numb, to try to protect myself, I guess.
Very frequent thing I hear from people.
Not knowing that drinking made things worse and had me reenacting traumas. Right. And living this, what definition of insanity? doing the things, same thing
Keep doing
over
it.
and over, expecting different result.
Yeah, because if you think about it, what happens is the alcohol blocks it for a short time, but then there's that return, and then that return's pretty bad, and so then I need to do it more. Plus, the more that we numb, the less we're able to deal with the stuff when it does show. And then there's another thing is if I numb this part, it's not like I can numb some things and not the others. So family begins to notice, and they begin to feel disconnected. That's a kind of a slow downward spiral.